Hey guys. Sorry about the confusion. Selling and presentation skills. So this is my first opportunity with you guys, really. I'm kind of excited about it. This is an exciting time for all of us, these 4 days. I'm truly grateful for what we're all going through together. And I've been looking forward to level 2 of the pyramid and talking to you about it. I'm very passionate about selling and presentation skills. So let's try and get started. All right then, I believe I'm being hazed one more time. Guys? Tim, very funny. Where's Tim? If we could please, guys in the back, it'd be greatly appreciative. Starting to get a little uncomfortable. Okay, so I want you to think of something. I want you to think of something right now. I would like you to analyze something right now within yourselves. I want you to think of the emotion you're feeling right now, judging the new kid on the block. And no, really, think about it just for a second. How's it feel right now? How do you feel? Do you trust that we've properly prepared selling presentation skills? Do you trust that the information is valid right now? The emotion. I really want you to try and tap into the emotion that is created for making a bad first impression. And I want you to analyze how you're judging me right now. When you talk to somebody for the first time, when you talk to a client for the first time, when you talk to a strategic partner for the first time, a real estate agent, a financial planner, accountant, attorney, if you're at a networking group for the first time, your first impression with them is critical. And you need to prepare for it. You need to practice it. You need to be ready for it. There's a moment, a first moment that you need to be ready for. And I want to show you what happens when you blow that moment. So I'm not being hazed. Recap of what not to do to make a first impression. First impression, we all hear the cliche, it's very difficult to recover from a bad first impression. It is difficult to recover, and I'm going to have to spend the next 25, 30 minutes trying to recover from it. But I wanted to do it on purpose so that you can really understand the emotional impact of what happens. And I hear a lot of people saying, well, I shouldn't be judged based on whether I'm a good salesperson or not. They should judge me based on the value I have, the value I bring to the table. They should judge me based on the information I'm providing. And that's a wonderful thought. It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. If I came out on stage and I wasn't in a suit, if I was in casual slacks and a golf shirt, would you judge me? Odds are good you would. And that's not bad. It's just human nature, and you need to get comfortable with the fact that it is human nature. And level 2 of the pyramid is critical. We all have an obligation to be good communicators. And that's what, to me, what being a good salesperson is. It's being a good communicator. Level 1 of the pyramid, Greg just talked to you about level 1 of the pyramid, essential knowledge. Essential knowledge is critical, absolutely. Foundation level of the pyramid. But selling presentation skills is equally important. Quick bio of myself. As I was introduced, my name is Eric Mitchell. I'm the area manager for charter funding in Minnesota. I'm also an originator, so I'm in the trenches just like you every day. I'm meeting with financial planners and accountants and attorneys, clients every single day. 7 years in the business. I started in 1999. My timing was very good. I came in at a very good time, and I'm projected to close 360 loans this year. And that's personal production, not company-wide. I mean, that's just Eric Mitchell loans. Okay. And I'm also a coach and trainer for the Mortgage Bankers Association and the Brokers Association of Minnesota. I have a passion for teaching, but not just teaching for the sake of teaching. I really want our industry to self-regulate itself. I'm watching what's happening with legislation in our industry, and it's tough. We shouldn't need it. We should all take that responsibility upon ourselves, and that's part of what I'm trying to do in Minnesota. So I want to try and dispel a myth. I hear a lot of people talking about, well, that person's a natural-born salesperson. Yeah, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as a natural-born salesperson. And I really need you to grasp onto that. So people that can play a musical instrument, raise your hand if you can play a musical instrument. Okay, people who can't play a musical instrument, you know, like me, I have a lot of respect for people that can. And those of you that can play a musical instrument, think about if somebody came to you and said, wow, you're just a natural-born musician. How would that feel? Did you have to practice? A little or a lot? Yeah, it takes a lot of discipline to become a good musician. A lot of discipline for a lot of years. So why would anybody perceive that selling is any different? It takes a lot of practice. There are sequences that you have to learn. There are patterns that you have to learn. And you can learn it. Anybody can learn it if you choose to learn how to be a good salesperson. Salespeople are not born, they are made. We learn how to do this for a living. So level 2 of the pyramid. I try and break it down, and Lone Toolbox tries to break it down into 4 sections. Okay, so these are the 4 sections. Developing your unique selling proposition, a USP. By the way, a USP cannot have the word service or rate in your USP. So if your unique selling proposition is, I have great service, everybody says that, therefore it can't be unique. Does that make sense? Okay, so then phone selling, presentation skills, face-to-face selling and presentation skills, and collateral presentation materials. How are you selling yourself using collateral? Those are the 4 sections you really need to practice on that you'll see in your business plan tomorrow. So that's level 2. Now if you look at those 2 levels of the pyramid, essential knowledge and selling presentation skills, think of it like an office building where the bottom level is holding everything else up. So it's got to be the strongest. And then the second level is the second strongest. But those 2 levels are absolutely tied to each other. Absolutely. Essential knowledge is great. You could be the smartest person in the world, but if you can't communicate it effectively, it doesn't mean anything. And if you're a great salesperson, but you don't know what you're talking about, you have the same problem. So that's the reality check. You know, all the essential knowledge in the world means nothing if you can't communicate in a way that influences action. And guess what? All the sales skills in the world don't mean anything if you don't know what you're talking about. I'm a big believer in that. I hear a lot of loan officers who are good salespeople. They used to be in some sort of sales profession, so they think that this is just a sales gig. And they go out and they try and sell themselves all the time, but they don't have the essential knowledge component, and they just sound silly. Or they overpromise and underdeliver, and they implode one or the other. These 2 levels of the pyramid are critical to each other. So what do we think the #1 obstacle of being a good salesperson is? You guys remember Herb Tarlick from WKRP? That's what I think of when I see that. Jean, the lady at the Lone Toolbox who comes up with the slides, she's very creative. Thank you, Jean, for that picture. So that's for me, when I talk to people about being a good salesperson, that typically is the photograph that is conjured in their minds. You know, if I become a good salesperson, that means my job is to coerce people or convince people to do something that may or may not be in their best interest. That's what selling is. There's a perception because, you know, I walked in some car dealership and the car salesman tried to sell me a car without asking me questions. So therefore selling is talking. Right? So we have this obstacle in our brains of I don't want to learn how to coerce people. I don't want to learn, so I don't want to, your brain shuts off and say I don't want to learn to be a good salesperson. But that's not what being a salesperson is. That's not what a good salesperson is. So let's learn how to get around this obstacle. People buy for their own reasons, not yours. A really truly good salesperson is somebody that asks good questions. Really good questions. Not, I mean, we all have an obligation to ask, you know, name, address, social security number, work history, etc. Okay, but those are things that go on a 1003. I'm talking about personal questions. I'm talking about we're controlling the largest financial transaction in someone's life. It is personal. To me, it's personal. You know, I need to know how many kids they have. Not just now, how many they're planning on having. Because if I've got a client with 2 kids and they're buying a 3-bedroom house, but they're planning on having 2 more, what's going to happen to that house? They're going to outgrow it. So I have an obligation to find that out so that I can give them advice. Real advice that means something. You know, and how many loan officers are comfortable asking a husband and wife with 2 kids, are you planning on having more children? Wow, that's a personal question. It is a personal question, and it needs to be asked. It needs to be asked. I know that's a big leap for a lot of people, but if you don't ask that, are you really creating value, or are you just selling now? Are you just trying to get the deal? Are you just trying to get the commission? Are you just trying to close the deal? Because that's a new realtor that referred you the client, and you're trying to make it go smooth. You know, a good salesperson to me is a good communicator of value, the ability to ask good questions. Myth number 2, taking applications with clients does not create rapport. Does not create rapport. Who here had a sales manager when you came into the business taught you the best moment, the cutting moment for you and a client is that first impression over the phone, taking the application, and that's the time to create rapport with the client? Who had a sales manager that taught them that? Really, just a few of us? That's how I was taught. Okay, hold on, I need to assess. How many of you take loan applications in person? Raise your hands. Wow, big number. Okay, and how many of you take loan applications over the phone? Raise your hand. More, almost equal. Okay, I'm going to challenge you and say both of those methods are challenging. They both have flaws. For me, when you take an application in person, so they come to your office and you take their information and you put it into whatever software you're using. As soon as you're done gathering their information, what's the first question they ask you? What's your rate? Yeah, what's your rate? Wait a second, I haven't pulled credit, I haven't done research on programs, I haven't done all these things. So can you quote a rate at that moment? No. But does the client understand that? No. So what did you just do? You just sabotaged yourself. You put yourself into a position where now the client is going to question whether they trust you or not. Are you hiding something? Why are you not quoting me a rate? I just gave you all of my information. Quote me a rate. That's how this works. In their mind, that's how it works. In our mind, obviously, we have to do a bit more work. Okay, so if you do it over the phone, right? How long does it take to take a phone application? 30 minutes? 40 minutes? You can type faster than that, but realistically, we all like to talk and create rapport with the clients. In my opinion, it's about a 30-minute conversation. At the end of the 30-minute conversation over the phone, same question, what's your rate? And you're putting yourself into the exact same situation. And I'm looking at that and I'm analyzing that a few years ago, and I'm saying, well, there's got to be a better way. You know, so my first attempt was, well, I'll just send clients to the internet, to my website, and I'll let them download their information. Anybody ever try that? A few of you? How's it work? Yeah, not so good. I couldn't get the clients to actually do it. You know, they say yes, and then a day or two goes by and they haven't downloaded their information yet, so then I got to call them back and try and get them motivated, and by that time they find out that their cousin was a loan officer, and I lost the deal, right? So that didn't work for me either. So I'm okay, so if I take it over the phone, I get rate shopped. If I do it in person, I get rate shopped. If I do it over the internet, they don't put in the information. So, you know, those are our only 3 choices, therefore I'm just going to have to do the lesser of the evils. But are they our only 3 choices, or might there be a better way? Tony Robbins has a saying, he says, I know you can't do that, but if you could, what would it look like? I know you can't. I know those are our only 3 choices, but if there was a 4th choice, what might it look like? So this is what I do. This is what my team does. We created a document called the Mortgage Concierge application. It's a paper application. For me, it's a value-added way to take a 1003. It saves me and the client's time and energy, engages the clients, and it's a great tool for my strategic partners. It's a 16-page document. Now, 16 pages, only 6 of which are actually data entry. The rest is sales materials. And I'll show you what that looks like. Who was at the Mortgage Coach Summit? Can you raise your hand if you were at the Mortgage Coach Summit on Monday? Okay. You guys remember how I was introduced? In September, and I say, and I'm going to preface this. I just want to try and engage you and get your attention here for a second. In September, in one night, I took 106 loan applications. In one night. Can you do that by doing one-on-one applications in person or over the phone? No, you can't. Using this document, we just handed them out and took 106 loan applications in one night. In October, I repeated the process. In one night, I took 91 loan applications. Yeah, honest. You can ask my team. It's real. It can be done. So understanding this document though, when you look at the four areas of selling presentation skills, this document for me has helped me cover all four. My real estate agents carry 5 or 6 of them in their briefcase. When they do an open house, there's 5 or 6 of them sitting in the kitchen door. When somebody walks in, Joe and Sally Smith walk in, and the agent is sitting in the model, and the agent says, hey, have you been pre-approved by anybody? And they say, no, I haven't. They're able to pull out a loan application and put it on the kitchen table right there. And it's done in a very consumer-friendly way. I'll try and show what it looks like. So this is what the application page looks like. I'll try and do a close-up here for you. So borrower information. So it's gathering a 1003 information, but in a consumer-friendly way, in an aesthetically pleasing way. I'm glad you can see that. So for me, if that client walks into the open house in a normal way, real estate agent hands them their business card, the client goes out to the car, what happens to the real estate agent's business card? It goes on the floor, goes in the garbage. We all have a very short attention span. You have to engage them right then and there. This gives my agents a tool to get the client's loan information right away, right there in the open house. Engages the client right now. Don't let them out of the open house. Get their information. This is also saved to the desktop of all of my strategic partners so that they're able to email it to any prospective client. My financial planners that I do business with have it on their desktop. So if they're meeting with a client, they can just print this out, hand it to the client, they fill it out, and it gets faxed to my office. Imagine walking in on a Monday morning at 8:30 and there being 4 loan applications sitting on your fax machine. Complete loan applications. That'd be pretty good, wouldn't it? Yeah. Then it's a matter of using this document effectively and coaching your strategic partners on how to introduce you properly. Imagine, I really want you to imagine the sequence that I go through with my partners. So on a Saturday afternoon, an agent's holding an open house, a client walks in, fills out the application, the agent introduces me along the lines of, you know what, if you do business with any other loan officer other than Eric Mitchell, I'm just letting you know I've been in the business 20 years, you're setting yourself up for sabotage. I've seen what Eric and his team does, and you'd be crazy not to do business with him. So then they fill out the application, it gets faxed in. My loan coordinator pulls it off the fax machine. Dad enters it into Point, we use Point. Pulls credit. There's also a consumer analysis that's in there as well with all the trigger points. And we're able to research programs. So the Monday morning when I'm calling the client, my first conversation with the client, I have a complete loan application, a credit report, programs chosen, and solutions ready. My first conversation with the client. What's my ability to close that? What's my ability to create real value for the client? How many more loans can you close in a month? Yeah, it's understanding. I used to listen to trainers in the mortgage industry, and I would see these statistics. Somebody would say, yeah, I closed 100 loans last month. I'd be like, oh my God, that's just ludicrous, 100 loans last month. I'm having trouble closing 3. You know, and I couldn't connect to it. And then I remembered I'm so grateful that Tony was here last night. I remember what Tony used to say. I know you can't close 100 loans a month. I know it's impossible. But if you could, what would it look like? This is a part of what it looks like. You can do it. It's being done. It's just a matter of learning it and implementing it. So we also have mortgage planning questions. We've all learned strategic equity and other valuable tools of what we do. So we've incorporated that into the questionnaire. I'll give you examples of some of the questions we ask. Question number 7 is, please check the following if they are priorities as it relates to your mortgage financing. You know, what are your trigger points? Tell me what you're really asking. Is this about monthly payment? Is this about interest rate? Is this about closing costs? What are your priorities here in this transaction? So the client is telling me whether I should be presenting them with a no closing costs option, or should I be presenting them with interest only, or should I be presenting them with possibly a deferred interest or negative amortization loan, or should I be presenting them with a 15-year fixed? They're telling me right here. That's what that section is telling me. Question 14. Please rate your current level of satisfaction on the following areas on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best. So I'm asking them, how happy are they with their current attorney, their current estate plan, their insurance agent, the financial advisor, and their accountant. So anybody, when we receive that, if there's a 7 or higher on any of those 5, what am I doing with that information? Yeah, I'm asking for the contact information. Wow, I found a great accountant. I found a great financial planner. I need to go for coffee with that person. Now, if they're really happy with their financial planner, are they going to be open to giving me their contact information so I can call them and go have coffee? Yeah, they're proud. Absolutely. And I just got an introduction to that financial planner from a trusted source based on an actual transaction that I can include them in. I can pull them into that transaction, and now they're going to experience my system, which allows me to then get more referrals from the financial planner to get more of their clients into our system. Okay, now what happens with anybody who's a 6 or less, or if it's blank? What am I doing? I'm referring to somebody I know, absolutely. Networking. If I see a 6 or less, or if it's blank, I have a very warm referral for one of my strategic partners. So I'm able to refer business to my strategic partners. So what might one of my unique selling propositions be to one of my strategic partners? Do business with me, and I will refer you business. Isn't that a trigger point for real estate agents? Financial planners, accountants, attorneys? Don't they want a reciprocal referral relationship? What is your ability? What is my ability? As a community, what is our ability to be able to do that? It's actually quite easy as long as you implement a system to do it. I pulled this right off of Mortgage Coach for those of you who recognize it, but I incorporated it. For those of you that get to know me, you'll learn that I don't really invent things. I just see things that I really like and then swipe and adapt. Yeah. So I've just, myself and my team, we've just gotten really good at that. So again, question number 19, I'm asking, are you comfortable with a 30-year fix? Are you comfortable with an intermediate arm? Are you comfortable with a monthly arm? Whatever box they check, if they check C, why would I talk to them about a 30-year fix? If they check A, why would I talk to them about a neg-am arm? They're telling me what it is that they want to be sold. It's a layup. Question 27, who do you know that is thinking about buying or refinancing real estate? And then I give some examples. So what am I asking for here? A referral, right out of the gates. Right out of the gates. No better time. I'm also asking for a referral halfway through, about 3 different times. Asking for referrals at the closing, post-closing, constantly asking for referrals. But right out of the gates, do they know somebody who's renting? If you could find anybody at any income level, don't we all know somebody who's renting? So when I hear somebody say, I don't know anybody who needs your services, is it their fault or is it my fault? I just haven't asked the question properly. Instead of just asking the question, do you know anybody who could benefit from my services, give them examples. Trigger the brain for them to analyze. One of my favorite stories, I used to manage a loan officer a few years ago, and I was always talking about asking for referrals. And she was upset because she was a loan officer for 2 years and her father was a CPA and her father had never referred her anybody. And so she was upset by that. She was at a family dinner one night and she finally said to her dad, Dad, you know, have I upset you somehow? He said, what do you mean, sweetheart? It's like, well, I've been a loan officer for 2 years and you've never referred me a client. You know what his response was? Yeah, you've never asked. I didn't know you needed one. That's her father. Right? So if you think your strategic partners know that you are needing referrals, her father didn't know. You have to ask all the time, all the time. You've been doing business with a real estate agent for 3 years, you still have to ask all the time. You know, one of my favorite relationships is with a financial planner. When he and I get together once a month, it's specifically designed to give each other 6 or 7 names and phone numbers of people that absolutely need our services from each other. Right? We've been doing business for coming up on 2.5 years now. We meet once a month and reciprocate names every month. That's the goal of that meeting. So you can't ask for referrals enough, and it's most loan officers, even if you do ask for it, we ask in a very vague way. You have to get specific. We also include a new home profile in the application. So how many real estate agents get their clients to fill out a form that says what kind of house they're looking for? Very few, maybe 1% of real estate agents actually have their client fill out a form that says what kind of house they're looking for. I don't understand why they don't. I mean, if I was a real estate agent, that would be the first thing I'd get them to do is fill out a form, what kind of house are you looking for, how many bedrooms, etc. But they don't. So we put it in our application package so that I can get this information over to the real estate agent, so the real estate agent can set them up on an MLS email system every day. Whatever comes on the MLS that day, they get an email right away. So I'm doing the real estate agent's job for them because they don't do it. And I used to get frustrated by that. I really did. I used to think, wow, real estate agents, they don't do their job. Like, they expect us to do their job for them. And then I had an epiphany. I said, wow, wait a second. If I do their job for them, then they need me. Well, that's good job security. You know, it's not what happens, right? It's how you interpret what happens. It's the state you put yourself in. We learned that last night. It's the state you put yourself in based on what happens. There's some of the questions, you know, price range, age of the home, et cetera. So we're really getting specific for the real estate agent. We also talk about the process flow. We give them a flow chart. One of the questions we're always asked on the front end is, okay, what's next? You got my information, what's next? As soon as I hear the same question from multiple clients, that means there's a break in my system. So we have to implement something so that we're answering that question in a proactive manner instead of a reactive manner. If I know the question's coming, why am I not answering the question before they know to ask it? So we're putting this in the document as well, letting them know, here's the flow. Tips, the do's and don'ts. Effective immediately. Give your social security number to no one for any reason. Don't apply for a gym membership. Don't go get a cell phone. Don't quit your job. Don't, all those things until closing. We all know we're supposed to tell our clients that, and we hit a couple of the highlights sometimes. What are you doing to do it consistently, to communicate it consistently? I don't know about you, but I hate getting that phone call from a real estate agent that says, well, the client quit their job 2 days ago, but why didn't you tell them not to do that? I have to tell the client not to quit their job before buying a house? You're kidding, right? Well, guess what? We do have to tell them. How many people have lost a deal because their client quit their job while the loan was being processed? Yeah. And then they're looking at you, it's like, oh, that matters? Yes, it matters that you have a job. We're quirky that way. You know, so let's communicate that up front. Let's get that information on the table. Testimonials. I also put in some testimonials, trying to create trust and rapport so they can see what other clients have felt. If you're not asking for testimonials from your clients, if you're not putting them on your website, if you're not creating presentation materials that have testimonials, I highly encourage you to do so. It's a very powerful way for clients to feel instant rapport and instant trust. And then we also have a call to action. The last page of the document is a fax cover sheet with instructions on what to do with the information. I'm doing my best to remove any and all barriers from getting this information as fast as possible. So I even filled out to Eric Mitchell, the fax number, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And then they can fill out who it's from. You know, so when somebody says, well, what am I supposed to do with it? Just turn to the last page. It's got the instructions on it. Oh, great, thank you. You walk over to the fax machine, boom, it's sitting on my fax machine every Monday morning. It's a great feeling, guys. Great feeling walking in on a Monday morning and seeing loan applications sitting on your fax machine. It's a great feeling. So closing the loop, USPs, phone selling, face-to-face, and collateral presentation materials. There's ways to incorporate all four to drive your business. There's ways of doing it. You know, I'm also going to be talking to you guys about level 4, and I'm really looking forward to sharing our system, our operational systems with you as to how this is incorporated into our day-to-day activities. But there are ways, very specific ways for you to drive your business. It's what's your ability to implement them and be passionate about them. And that's what I can't express enough. And we learned it from Tony last night. We all have access to the same books and the same information. The only thing that's going to separate anybody in this room is our ability to take action on that information. And in closing, a salesperson is simply a communicator of value, not coercing anybody. What's your ability to ask good questions and then provide a service that is specifically tailored to their needs, not what you perceive they need. And this is my system for being able to sell effectively. And like I said, guys, I'm closing 360 loans this year, personal production. And next year, 2007, my personal goal is to be the #1 originator in the country, the whole country. So, for those of you, as you get to know me, when I throw out a statement like that, it's a BHAG. big, hairy, audacious goal. And if you give yourself a BHAG, something that you perceive to be not achievable, it's amazing what can be created. It's amazing. If you set your goal so high that it's somewhat not achievable, and then figure out how do I make it achievable, ask the right questions from the right people, you can accomplish great things. And I wish that for everybody in the room. Thank you.